All right. So, something that you can find a little bit later in the Midtown Video Rental Department, Odyssey 7Q. Now, if what you are doing instead of recording is displaying, then you're going to want to know about this other device you can find momentarily at the Midtown Video Rental Department. It's Sony's Anycast Touch Station. So you're familiar with switchers. They take a bunch of different inputs and they send them out to your projectors and now to your recorders. But lately, the all-in-one switcher has been all the rage, something that will stream to the internet, something that will record a stream for you, something that will display photos, graphics, media clip players, something that will allow you to plug your computer in and mix it in with your cameras. And so Sony has offered us this impressive piece of touch-enabled machinery. In fact, let me guide you through a little bit of it. Okay, so here we are, Sony's Anycast Touch Station. So on the top, this section I've got program. On the bottom I've got preview. You might notice that right now they're exactly the same. We've got Miss Debbie Miller, our chat host, on the program. But if I wanted to sort of key up my media player, there you see it in the preview mode. And I'm doing this all by touch. When I hit the take button, now I've switched to my Anycast Touch media player and I'm playing back videos. Pretty sweet. We've got 2 titles and 2 logos available. So for instance, I could, you know, let's go back to Miss Debbie here. So now we've got, this is the output of our switcher. We can always cut right back to our media player. If I wanted to, let's go to sort of a nice computer. This is the desktop of my Mac computer back at home. I can key up a title just by jumping in. I can key up a second title, so I can have up to 2 separate titles. Probably want to get rid of the second title because that doesn't look fantastic. If we can go to a studio camera just for a second, I want to show you something extra special about this Anycast. When you're connected to something like this Sony BRC H900, that is an HD pan-tilt zoom camera with the guts of an EX3. So they took an EX3, condensed it down, put it into R2-D2's body, and now I've got myself a pan-tilt zoom camera. When I cut to that camera, I get the capacity on my touchscreen to actually control the camera. So on my sub screen, there are actually 2 different touch screens. It's really hard to see, but afterwards I'll invite our audience to come up and take a look. I can move this camera around. So R2-D2, look the other way. So we send him over there, send him over here, and you see that we've got live feedback in the touch stream. So you know, maybe we want to tilt up, maybe want to tilt down. Now it's much more impressive when this camera, of course, is mounted perhaps in the ceiling or on the pillars of your sanctuary, and you're doing a one-man show with 4 different cameras and 1 simple touchscreen device. But let me tell you about the inputs and the outputs of this guy. 6 different inputs, all right? You can mix composite and HD-SDI inputs. Say you've got a DVD that you've got to play and 3 of these BRC H900 HD-SDI cameras. You can mix those guys no problem. 2 separate inputs to be either RGB or HDMI. So that's 3, that's 4, that's 5. What is the 6th? Anyway, we probably have a couple more HDMI inputs. 6 inputs total. Pretty fantastic. Audio-wise, there is an audio mixer built into this. You've got XLR inputs. You've got unbalanced RCA inputs. And of course, on this sub-screen, when you jump into the audio mixer mode, you've got a 5-channel mix, which will give you 1 program out and 1 auxiliary mix out. Just like in video, you've got 1 program out and 1 auxiliary video out, which is all touchscreen controllable. So I just jump into this auxiliary section, and it says, what signal would you like auxiliary to be? And I can tell it. So there we are, SDI connections, composite connections, HDMI, and RGB connections. And let's go to the next slide on that one. We'll talk about audio for a second. XLR and RCA audio. Of course, it will also take audio embedded on an SDI signal or an HDMI signal. I believe we've got a question coming in from the internet. No? All right, we're going to skip that question. Fantastic. So when you are using the internal media player, you have the capacity to play back a couple different types of moving images. All right, you can play back H.264s, you can play back MP4s and MPEG files, you can play back sounds, and of course you've got the capacity just to check out images, still images. There are 3 USB 3.0 connections. You can import media from external hard drives. You can export media to external hard drives. You can start and stop the program record of your live, of your live show, and then later use that recorded video back as an output to play out through your media player. Pretty sophisticated stuff, very esoteric though, kind of hard to communicate over the internet. What I highly recommend is you schedule for yourself a little bit of time at Midtown Video to get your own hands on this highly intuitive Anycast touch switcher. It's going to allow one person to control pan, tilt, zoom cameras, cut back and forth between multiple sources from cameras to computer desktops to internal media players, including sounds, photos, and movies. You'll be able to stream to the internet, of course, for our friends who love to stream on the internet. You'll be able to record and play out, and you can do it all on an iPad-like touch surface that is super cool. So that's the Anycast Touch Station. We anticipate ours showing up in our rental department potentially next week. We're going to be renting it for $500 a day. Call your buddy Scott Lenter, who runs the rental department here at Midtown Video, and arrange for your next high-quality multi-source switching session on the Sony Anycast Touch. All right. We do have a question coming in from the internet? All right, let's go to Debbie with a question coming in from the internet.
What's the street price? Rough ballpark figure.
Rough ballpark figure. This is going to set you back about $19,000. Hope that answers your question.
Okay,
That's why we're featuring our rental price. All right, get it for just $500 a day, and we're doing weekend rates. So pick it up on Friday, do 2 shows, Saturday and Sunday. Don't tell Scott, because he'll want to charge you for 2 days. Keep it between you and me. Pay the $500, bring it back on Monday. No one's the wiser. All right?